is Michael Cook. I'm the board chair of Journalists for Human Rights, and we chose World Press Freedom Day to invite you here this afternoon. And there couldn't be a better day, a more significant day, for us to make this significant announcement, the one you're about to hear, because Journalists for Human Rights works for world press freedom every day. And we take a moment, I think, to reflect on what is happening today to our colleagues and friends around the world in over 200 countries. 75% of those countries have problems with their journalists. The governments are charging them, they're locking them up, and in some cases killing them. So it's very appropriate that we speak to you today. Some people have asked us why we're aiming this project at women and girls. And I think it's fair to say, demonstrably fair to say, that where life is hard and life is tough, it's the women and girls who have it the toughest. And it's also been shown, we have our own evidence, but there's plenty of it, that says if you help women, life gets better for everyone. Women, girls and men, for everybody. Ce nouveau projet passionnant dirigé par JDH et financé par Global Affairs est soutenu par nos partenaires les médias canadiens et constituera un échange stimulant des skills, entre les guillemets, avec les meilleurs médias et journalistes du monde Global South. Et je suis fier d'être devant vous cet après-midi pour vous présenter le ministre, l'honorable Madame Monsef, qui va parler et nous expliquer son appui et l'avenir de ce programme. Madame Monsef is International Development Minister and is Minister of Women and Gender Equity. So, merci, thank you, and Madame Ministre.
Merci Michael, bonjour, Anim, salam alaikum. C'est un grand privilège pour moi de me tenir ici sur ce territoire traditionnel, les Wendat et Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee and Mississauga. What a great privilege it is to be with you all here today as a guest on this traditional territory that the Wendat, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples have called home for generations upon generations. A free and independent press matters because truth matters. World Press Freedom Day is a day to celebrate how vital press freedom is to human dignity, and a day to evaluate the state of press freedom around the world and pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives while seeking the truth. Our government will always stand for human rights at home and abroad, and we support the work of Journalists for Human Rights to protect freedom, to advance equality, and to build the capacity of an independent, free press around the world. According to the International Federation of Journalists, in 2018, between the 1st of January and the middle of December, 94 journalists were killed on the job. That's up from 82 the year before. Intimidation and incarceration of journalists, as you heard from our chair, is also on the rise. The world needs to protect journalists. For 27-year-old Jan Kuciak, killed in Slovakia in February. For those killed in my ancestral land in Afghanistan, still the most dangerous place in the world for journalists. For the 5 journalists killed in the Capital Gazette newsroom in Annapolis, Maryland. For Jamal Khashoggi, killed in Istanbul in October. And for Lyra McKee, killed just 2 weeks ago in Northern Ireland. Recently, Minister Chrystia Freeland and her UK counterpart launched a joint initiative called Defend Media Freedom to shine a light on the media abuses that happen around the world and to address the trend of violence against journalists. And on July 10th and 11th, the 2 of them will be hosting an international conference on media freedom to further the work that needs to happen. When journalists and media professionals are under attack, upholding human rights becomes more difficult. But when journalists have the tools and the freedom they need to do their work, their stories make a world of difference. Americans. Take Sally Armstrong. Sally shone light on the travesties and the challenges faced by Afghan women before anyone else really did. And it took her story, her 1997 story, in the Homemakers magazine that was read by many Canadians. And one of those Canadians said, I have to do something. And what she did was start Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan. Now has over a dozen chapters across the country, one in my hometown in Peterborough, Ontario, working to advance women and girls in Afghanistan by supporting their education initiatives. And today, the women of Afghanistan are telling their own stories. On radio, online, they even have their own television channel, the first and only TV channel exclusively aired by and for Afghan women, called Zan TV. Take Betty Ann Adam, an Indigenous reporter whose Star Phoenix investigation helped launch a public inquiry into the 1990 freezing death of the 17-year-old Neil Stonechild, who was seen in police custody the night of his death. In the aftermath of the inquiry, the police chief was fired and a First Nations woman was appointed to lead the Saskatoon Police Commission. Or take Globe and Mail's Robin Doolittle, who led a 20-month investigation that exposed that 1 in 5 sexual assault cases in Canada are closed by police as unfounded, meaning police didn't believe that a crime had happened. And her investigation brought about far-reaching changes to police services all over Canada, including within the RCMP. The impact of the work of these women continues to be felt here in Canada and around the world. And that's why the work of journalists for human rights is so crucial. Training and mentoring journalists, including women, in challenging environments to cover human rights issues ethically and objectively, honing their skills so that they tell the stories of the unheard, so that they shape public discourse, and so that they help catalyze positive change. Recently, women journalists, mentored by Journalists for Human Rights, their coverage helped to shut down a militia responsible for committing mass rape in Kisumu near Bukavu in the eastern DRC. Women trained by Journalists for Human Rights also work to highlight the needless deaths in the then-besieged Al-Rafan camp in the Syrian, Jordanian, Iraqi border. And within days of the story airing, the government of Bashar al-Assad allowed the opening of a humanitarian aid corridor to the camp. These people's work matters and it works. And today I'd like to announce that the Government of Canada is investing $11.7 million over 4 years so that Journalists for Human Rights can help the media uphold and protect human rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Kenya, in Jordan, and with Syrian diaspora in the Middle East. The project will help ensure that more women are represented in the media as journalists, as managers, and as featured sources. It will focus on the rights of women and girls because, as our chair said, when women and girls succeed, their families do better. And when they do better, their countries are more secure and their economies are stronger. To get there, though, women and girls' voices need to be amplified. Their stories need to be told. They need to pen their own stories, and those stories need to be heard. And when this happens, different perspectives are shared, and we get closer to hearing the whole story. This project will make a difference. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 75% of media content is either created by men or focuses on their experiences. In Kenya, where only 10% of stories mention human rights or equality. And in Jordan, where there are 5 times more men than women in the newsroom. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Journalists for Human Rights, for those who've already been trained abroad and have made a world of difference, for students considering this noble pursuit, and for those who are putting their lives on the line every day for the pursuit of truth. And of course, for the families whose lives will never be the same because their loved ones will not be returning from assignment. When people are informed or outraged, when they are held to account or inspired, change happens. Your stories matter. Miigwech. Thank you, Nancy.
It is such a great honor for us to have you here today, and I'm also so honored to have this extraordinary wealth of representation from across Canadian media. We are thrilled to be announcing Canada World Voice for Women and Girls on World Press Freedom Day. There are several people in this room who helped to cook up this project. I see Robert Greenhill right over there. I see Peter Danolo. There's quite a few brains who have worked to achieve this outcome. In 2018, 251 journalists were imprisoned around the world. And 2019 is the 13th year of consecutive decline in press freedom outcomes globally. People around the world continue to struggle through conflict, and they know that it is through speaking up and having their voices heard that their living conditions will improve. But the space to do so is shrinking. And that's why this program matters. That's why it matters now. And that's why it is going to have such profound impact. JHR's programs directly address these challenges. Take our most recent results working with Global Affairs Canada and South Sudan. In South Sudan, we saw a situation where media and authorities were at war. Grant McDonald, sitting in the front row here, knows all about that. When the president, back in 2015, called for people to shoot journalists for reporting against the state. Sound familiar? And a journalist was shot in the back the following day. South Sudan has evolved, working with JHR in partnership with the Media Authority, to a place where for the past 2 years, no journalists have been killed in the line of work. No journalists have been put in jail for the past year. That is the preventive medicine of media development. JHR works with journalists, media outlets, civil society organizations, and authorities in the most difficult circumstances. We build journalist capacity to report on issues affecting their communities, and these journalists inform the public and engage or challenge authorities to find those local solutions to local problems. Earlier this year, for example, coverage by the same network that Minister Monsef referenced earlier, working on the refugee camp issue, they decided to focus on honor killings. That sparked a fatwa from the Syrian Islamic Council. Fatwas have a bad name in this part of the world. They're known primarily for the fatwa against Salman Rushdie. In this case, the fatwa forbids honor killings. So I think quite like fighting that kind of sexism with fatwas. Some have asked, why focus so much on women and girls? My answer, 12 years of evolving, evidence-based best practice in media development, paired with the journalistic tropes of balance, accuracy, and fairness. In the majority of the places where JHR works, women struggle to have their voices heard, let alone lead newsrooms. So-called women's issues, health, education, environment, and child welfare, are too often put to the side in favor of hyper-partisan political coverage that further destabilizes these fragile environments. JHR has found through 12 years of practice that prioritizing women's voices and concerns in coverage and working with powerful media leaders, like the recently deceased Alfred Taban in South Sudan, to champion women's leadership in newsrooms delivers issues-driven coverage that communities engage with towards discussions of positive change. That kind of coverage helps to put politics aside, and we see problems start to be resolved. So again, in the spirit of accuracy, balance, and fairness, this approach works to ensure that the voices of 50% of the population worldwide are heard, and that their concerns are respected and acted upon. That's balance and fairness. The support of Global Affairs Canada over the past 3 years in South Sudan has allowed us to do spectacular things. We are encouraged now with this new vote of confidence that we will be able to do so much more, working with the very best of Canadian media, partnering with the very best of Global South journalists worldwide. We're delighted at this moment, delighted that you are all here with us to celebrate, and very, very excited to see what this coming chapter will build. And now, turn it over to you.
Bonjour à tous. Au nom de la presse, je voudrais exprimer notre fierté d'être associé à vos initiatives. Pour la presse, un journalisme fort est essentiel pour la santé de la démocratie. Nous avons la conviction que nous faisons ça tous les jours à Montréal, au Québec, au Canada. Et nous espérons apporter notre modeste contribution en partageant nos expériences avec nos collègues, là où ça peut être utile. Merci. J'invite maintenant Wendy Freeman, présidente de CTV News, à prononcer quelques mots.
Good afternoon. For the last 7 years, CTV News has proudly partnered with Journalists for Human Rights to dispatch our journalists to Africa, the Middle East, and Canada's North. All of our journalists have returned from their placements with incredible tales of courage, defiance, and remarkable stories of human adversity. Our journalists have told us of life-changing experiences while training and mentoring young reporters. They've shared how it has been the most challenging and yet the most gratifying experiences of their career. At the same time, they are thankful for their ability to tell the kind of human rights stories that truly matter and to help provide a voice for those who cannot speak. They are most proud to leave behind storytelling tools that will allow them not only to share their stories, but to change their worlds. At a time when press freedom is under attack more than ever before, the partnership with JHR and now the Canada World Project has allowed the opportunity for our CTV News journalists to give back even more with the best of their skills through mentorship and training, and a chance for us to tell even more stories on human rights, and especially the human rights of women and girls. It is clearly an unmatched opportunity for everyone, and we are so proud to continue and strengthen this partnership. We can't wait for our first deployment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Troy Reed from Corus Entertainment, and I want to welcome you to our home for this very important announcement today. It was back in 2011 that Global News approached JHR with what was at the time a pretty innovative idea. Experienced global journalists would be given the opportunity to work with JHR to help support their peers in the developing world, beginning with 5 countries in Africa. We called it the Africa Project, and over time, the work expanded to include countries in the Middle East and First Nations here in Canada. And as I later became a board member of JHR, I was so pleased to see other Canadian media, many of whom are represented on the stage here today, and many of whom are in the broader Canadian media sector, also jump on board with this model of having volunteer expert trainers support the work of JHR. Not only did our reporters increase the bonds between North and South and share their expertise as seasoned journalists, but they also took the time to tell the stories of the communities that they were volunteering in, bringing those stories of communities in conflict, of human rights challenges, and of human opportunities in parts of the world that would ordinarily receive little coverage back here in Canada, or really anywhere in the West. Every single one of those reporters also came home feeling that they had learned as much or even more from the journalists they were working with than they themselves had offered up as teachers. These are the connections that we celebrate on World Press Freedom Day. The work supported by the original Africa Project and all that have followed in its template has helped to strengthen journalism that has brought to light injustice, that has supported democratic development, that has improved communities at the grassroots level. It has changed lives, and it formed the basis for the program being given such a giant push with the funding being announced here today. Minister, it is a lot of funding. And it will be questioned by journalists here in Canada, as it should be. Transparency and accountability are the hallmarks of good journalism and the hallmarks of the kind of work that this project will support. It is important to note that this funding is to support a leading and innovative and cost-effective NGO to support journalism overseas. It's not directly supporting journalism here in Canada or journalists. I do want to say a big thank you to the Minister. Thank you to my media colleagues for being here to support this program as well. Thank you to the Corus team who helped to organize today's announcement. And thank you mostly to the JHR board, the staff, and especially the JHR volunteers who have given so much of their time, their energy, their expertise, and their emotions to bring this project to life. And thank you to all of you for attending and joining us. And